Hello, this is Talking Devils, your favourite Manchester United podcast. I'm Dave Murphy, joined again by former Manchester United and current Morecambe centre-half Scott Wootton to discuss the boring events of today's game at West Ham. Please, if you're not subscribed, hit one of the subscribe buttons somewhere. If you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook, then feel free to get your questions in for Scott. Also, once the show is over, be sure to watch our Friday show with Lee Lawrence and Phil Marsh, also both former Manchester United players. Some great stories about training with Ronaldo. And check out our website that has reaction to today's game by Manchester United author Wayne Barton, and the highlights on player ratings. Scott, before we jump into West Ham, congratulations. Congratulations, but commiserations. You made your full debut for Morecambe over the past week. Two full games. Obviously, the results didn't go your way, but I assume you're pretty ecstatic and happy to get a couple of 90 minutes under your belt.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, I joined the club late after the first game of the season, actually. So I knew I was always going to have to be patient and get my fitness levels up to scratch. I was obviously playing catch up from the get go with missing pre-season at Morecambe. Then we had a cup game in the week that I managed to get 90 minutes in. Then thankfully the manager stuck with me for the league game yesterday, which obviously I was pleased about. We actually played really well. We had 3 or 4 really good chances. We had a stonewall penalty. That was sure we'll talk about penalty decisions later. And they scored from a corner. That was the only real chance they had, really. So it was a bitter pill to swallow, but I think if we can keep playing how we did yesterday, I think we'll be fine.
Well, let's start off with that. Manchester United 2, West Ham 1. A very lively game. So many things to talk about, really, isn't there? We got the penalty decisions. We got the penalty save. We got, Ronaldo scoring again. We have McTominay back. He went with Fred again, which, baffles a lot of supporters. So let's get a quick analysis from you. Let's start off with the game overall. Did you enjoy it? Did you watch it? I'm assuming you did, but what did you think of it? What did you think of it starting off with a selection and basically how the game went?
I think it was interesting to see the selection. That it was obviously see it as a tough away game that he went with. I think we spoke about on the past that he always seems to go with 2 out of the 3 of Fred and McTominay, who sit in front of the back 4. Again, he's gone with Fred and McTominay. He seems to have to trust in them for big games, especially big away games. And I was just thinking that before we came on, it's quite difficult to knock him really with that because of the away record is so good. I mean, listen, I get that Fred's not everyone's cup of tea and things like that, but the record of moving Pogba out to the left, it seems to work. It's not what everyone envisages. Everyone wants to see Pogba alongside probably McTominay or Matic, with Sancho playing Rashford. Get as many attacking players on the pitch and be exciting. But obviously, Ollie in these big away games, West Ham are in good form. They had an amazing season last year. Yeah. He's gone to be a bit more solid with 2 more disciplined players to sit in front of the back 4. Obviously, great to see Ronaldo on the score sheet again. Could have had a few more actually. I'm sure he'll be disappointed he didn't score one where Fernandes slipped him in the second half. Absolutely delighted for Jesse Lingard with the time he's had. What a goal. And yeah, I thought Varane done well again. I thought him and Maguire looked like doing well. Both fullbacks I thought were very, very good. I thought McTominay was superb. And I think the reflection of the game, I think United dominated the game really. I think it was pretty clear West Ham were just looking to play on the counter-attack, get numbers behind the ball. Obviously, without Mikel Antonio up front for them, that was a big help for United, I felt. And I think they would, by worthy winners, albeit in dramatic circumstances. But I thought they definitely deserved to win the game.
4 penalty calls in that game. I'm not going to argue about the Luke Shaw one. I mean, it's a penalty. At the end of the day, that's the rules. I think it's a silly rule. I think, if a ball coming at you that fast, you're a defender. I mean, you know better than anyone. It's hard to get your hand out of the way, but they're the rules. 100%, it was a penalty. No arguments there. 3 decisions with Ronaldo. I'll be honest, I think the first one and the third one, I agree with Ollie. I think they were definite stonewall penalties. I don't think the second one was. I think he kind of played up to it. But what's your thoughts on that? I mean, VAR has been, you either love it or you hate it. I personally think that, these things come around in circles. You get good decisions, you get bad decisions. It just happens. It really does. I don't get too wound up by the VAR decisions, because you'll get one at near the end of the season when you probably weren't expecting it. But for me, I think it was 2 stonewall penalties. How did you see them?
Yeah, I completely agree, especially the last one.
Yeah.
I don't see how the people haven't given. He's took the ball past Zuma. Zuma's lunged in. There's clear contact. Yeah, I just don't get how that's not being given. I don't know how he hasn't gone to the monitor. I don't know how the people in Stockley Park haven't given it. And then obviously that leads to, like you say, the Shaw one, which, yeah, it's a yard away. I think that's more the rules of the game suggest
it is. Yeah.
I think anyone who's played, he's a yard away. You can't defend without your arms. You need them for your balance to push off, and it's hit him in the arm. I can fully understand, like you say, why the referees gave that decision. But going back to the Ronaldo, the Zuma, I just can't get that one out of my head. Even forget the other two. That one is, to me, it's just an absolute stonewall penalty.
And even as Jason Prime says here, he says, how does the ref not go to the monitor? I mean, how does he not go to the monitor? It's absolutely ridiculous. Is it a case whereby we're already seeing, an issue with Ronaldo? I mean, let's be honest. We spoke about this in the initial show. That Fergie had to take him aside at one point and tell him to cut out the diving. Now he's back in England. Is the stench of that still hanging over Ronaldo?
Well, I think you could use that as an argument if there was no VAR, because it's the referee's sort of mindset, and he's thinking he might have that. Listen, at the end of the day, referees are human beings. I remember Ashley Young had an issue with that a few years back. He had this sort of reputation that he was a diver. So obviously that's already planted seeds in referees' heads. And like you say, you could be right with Ronaldo, but then surely that has to be taken out of it when it comes to VAR. They just got to look at each circumstances, an individual case, no emotion, no past. They've just got to. They get the time to look at it, different angles. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe it.
It was. I mean, it was similar to the previous decision, or the previous day's decision, Manchester City against Southampton. I mean, I'm stunned that wasn't given as a penalty. It seems to me that we had this bad season last season with VAR, and I'm not just saying Manchester United, I'm saying every club, has had their bad decisions. And then in the Euros, it kind of tightened up, and it was, I was starting to get a bit, I was starting to actually accept it and go, maybe it's taking a season to get them to get their, shit together, basically. But then we go into the new season, and all of a sudden we're still having these problems. I mean, there was absolutely no reason for Atkinson not to go over to even take a 10-second look. He was quick enough to run over for the penalty decision for West Ham. For me, it was mind blowing. I thought, is this going to be another season of this? I want to talk about Jesse Lingard real quick though. You mentioned Jesse Lingard scoring. I mean, Jesse Lingard, we all know what happened midweek, but that happens to footballers. Jesse Lingard had a great 4 or 5 months at West Ham, scored 5 games in a row, I think 9 goals in total. They seem to take to him down there, which is very unusual for West Ham and a Manchester United player. They even applauded him, when he came on. The point I want to make 2 points about Jesse Lingard. I want to get your opinion on. Number one, does Jesse Lingard have a place in this squad now? That now that he's starting to prove himself. I don't believe he's a first team, a first 11 player, but he's starting to definitely show that he has a place here. And number two, I'd like to get your opinion on how Solskjaer handled the Jesse Lingard situation. It would have been easy for them to drop him after midweek. We've had a certain manager in the past that would have literally thrown him under the bus. We won't mention any names, Jose Mourinho. But he would have literally thrown him under the bus, blame him for the defeat, destroyed his confidence, and we wouldn't see Lingard for another 2 or 3 months. Is this, you've worked with Ollie, is this the type of man management that he brings to the team? We all know he's not the greatest coach in the world. He has his flaws, but great coaches, also need great man management skills. Is this where Ollie really comes into his own? In the previous 3 managers we've had since Fergie, is that he went, you know what, you made a mistake, let's move on. And then Lingard comes out and puts one in the top corner. So sorry for the long questions, but
no. But I agree absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And I think that proves that. Ollie would have had Jesse as himself in the reserves, so he'll know all about his character. He'll know all about how much he loves playing for the club. And I just think the whole situation, how it sort of came full circle. If you look at him now, I remember we spoke and he was going to start the first game of the season if he didn't have COVID. Yeah. So he was going through a tough time. They've obviously had a lot of conversations about what to do for the best. Bruno was flying, so he wasn't really going to play. He's gone out on loan to West Ham. That freshness in terms of the change of environment, playing for a different team, different teammates, living away from the city, all them things come into it. He's gone there, he's ripped it up, he's been absolutely sensational for West Ham. I mean, I'm sure any Man United or West Ham fan would never have predicted how well he would have been, knowing that he's always had that ability, but I don't think for how he was, or the stick he was getting and the criticism he was receiving at the time, I don't think anyone would have thought he would go down there and do that well. He's came back pre-season. I think there was a load of talk of, is he going to leave permanently? Where's his future? Is he going to go to West Ham? Bruno's sort of nailed on in terms of the number 10. That's Jesse's best position. But I think Ollie's handled him, and credit to Jesse as well. He's obviously came back, done really well pre-season. He's put himself right back into the thoughts of the manager. He's firmly in his plans. And why not? If Jesse Lingard plays like he did for West Ham and early on in his United career now, which can happen. Listen, everyone can have a dip in form. It's only probably Ronaldo and Messi, the two players who've never had a dip, really. Why can't he be a vital member? Yeah, he might not be in the strongest 11, but he scored massive goals for Man United in big games and cup finals and things like that. He can play Champions League games, play the cup game. He can come on the bench and listen. Today, he's come off the bench and he's made the difference. He's won United the game, really. So, I think the whole situation has been massive credit to Jesse. And again, I think Ollie's handled it superbly well. He hasn't kept him at the club last year. He didn't let him go permanently because he knows of the ability that he's got. He's gone out on loan, and then he's probably said in the summer, all his speculations going on. He's probably looking at Jesse in pre-season, looking at what he'd done at West Ham and thinking, he's not going anywhere. Not a chance he's leaving my team. And it's just amazing how that loan spell can just reinvigorate and revitalise him. And, that's exactly what he's done, and fair play to both of them.
I mean, we all know he made a terrible mistake in midweek, and all footballers make mistakes. To come out today and to play the way he did, and to play against West Ham, which let's be honest, they took to him really well. He probably had a bit of a, it was a big day for him. It really was, because of all the teams that after making a mistake to come out against, you come out against a team that you've just been on loan on, that have taken to you. And to score the goal that he did was just unbelievable. And players get a lot of, at times, and I've seen it on social media, they get a lot of stick when they don't celebrate, against certain clubs, against certain teams and stuff like that. But I can fully understand the reason why he didn't celebrate, because he went down there, they really took to him, and he probably had arguably the best 4 to 5 months of his career so far at that club. So I get it. I don't know why people are, disillusioned with why he didn't celebrate. It's just one of those things. I'm not going to go into that too much. I think, he scored a cracking goal. We won the game, albeit, not being helped by Martin Atkinson. So I want to jump into that right now. We obviously know it was a penalty, 100%. David Moyes was either going to be a genius or an absolute idiot for the decision he made. He brought on Mark Noble, and I can understand it. This guy has scored. He hasn't missed a penalty since 2016. He scored 10 penalties in a row. He's up against a goalkeeper, albeit penalty shootouts, that hasn't saved in 40 attempts. Scott, you're a professional footballer. We don't know. Coming on cold like that in a 90-odd minute, is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea?
It just completely depends on whether the ball hits the net or not. If David De Gea dived away, it's an absolute genius of a decision. Mark Noble, great. David Moyes is a genius. You look at them stats there that you've just read, you couldn't write it, could you? If he misses, all the excuses are he's cold, he might not have warmed up properly. David Moyes, what's he thinking? He hasn't got a clue. Honestly, that's the fine margins of football.
100%.
in a nutshell. If he scores that penalty, listen, my personal opinion is to come on at that stage wouldn't have been great, I don't think, because, yeah, he'd be cold. Mark Noble will probably, no matter how professional he is, he's thinking he only really comes on for West Ham if they're in the lead and they take off one of the 3 players behind the striker and he comes on to make an extra man in midfield alongside Rice and Souček. That's when I've only ever seen him come off the bench. I've never seen him come off the bench and chasing a goal or anything like that. So he's probably even mentally thinking 1-1, 2-1 down, I ain't coming on. So then, listen, we don't know what's gone on. He might have been saying, listen, we've got a penalty, I'm a penalty taker, get me on to the manager possibly. Or David Moyes might have turned around and said, Mark, you're the penalty taker. You've got to, like you just said, he's got, in his head, Moyes would have been thinking of, like what you just said, De Gea's record at saving penalties isn't great, as we know. No. Plus, Mark Noble's very, very good penalty record. And like I say, if he scores or he sends De Gea the wrong way, it's an absolute incredible decision. And he's, but ultimately, thankfully for Man United, he's missed, and all the questions are pointing toward David Moyes and Mark Noble. But I literally, honestly, just think it's that simple. If he scores, that's genius. If he misses, it's what are you doing?
When I say Mark Noble coming on, my assumption was this is ending 2-2. That guy scores every single penalty he hits. I'm glad he made. I mean, it was a fantastic save. Not only did he save it, it was he got such a strong hand on it that it literally went to the left and it ended up outside the 18-yard box. Manchester United went on to win, which is fantastic. But there's always that lingering thing over Manchester United games as of late, and it's all down to substitutions. Ole can either be great at substitutions or he's the worst in the world at substitutions. Today, he seemed to get it right because the player he brought on, Matic, got the assist for the Lingard goal. And Jason asked, great subs by Ole today. He deserves credit. People are quick to criticise when it doesn't go right. And great pass from Matic into Jesse for his goal. This debate seems to be raging a lot about Ole's in-game management. And I'll be honest with you, the times he brings on certain players, and I feel it's a little bit bizarre. But, that's why I'm sitting here in California on my couch watching the TV and I'm not on the sideline because I'm not a professional manager. Do you think Ole gets unfairly criticised for the substitutions?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, because ultimately we haven't got a clue. Even the top pundits, the ex-managers, they've all been in that situation. You don't really know what he's thinking. He's seen something in the game that he, like Jason just said there. I was going to say that before, actually, because when I was watching the game, Fred, when it was basically attack v defence. West Ham were very deep and it was all United. There was only one team that looked like they were going to score before, obviously, they scored the second goal. And Fred was dropping, he was going deeper in between Maguire and Varane. And I thought he doesn't need to be there. He was just making it much easier for West Ham. And to bring Matic on, playing that forward pass into Jesse, I don't think Fred would have been 20, 30 yards deeper, just passing it side to side to one of the centre-backs. So, yeah, exactly what you just said there. He gets a lot of criticism. And, you never really know. He brought Jesse on as well. What a genius sub that is against his former club, but all the stuff, he's had going on and stuff like that. So, yeah, I do think he gets unfairly criticised at times, Ole, to be honest. And that was superb today, what he done.
Yeah, I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's like the whole David Moyes thing. If Noble scores, all the headlines tomorrow are going to be David Moyes, the genius. Why did Manchester United ever let him go? I mean, if I recall back in the World Cup, Louis van Gaal did it. He took off his goalkeeper, brought on his penalty goalkeeper, and they won the game. Ole got criticised in the Europa Cup final last year for not bringing on Henderson and leaving De Gea out there. Like you said, these things are just, if they fall one way, they're great. If they fall another way, you're the worst in the world. So, like I said, I am a little bit baffled at times by some of the substitutions that Ole made. But today, I think he got it bang on. And your analysis there about, well, he brought Matic on because, all of a sudden, Fred was just sitting in between two centre halves. So he was taking on the pressure, leaving too much of a big gap in the midfield. Matic comes on. He's a further 20, 25 yards up the pitch, slips the ball into Lingard. game over. So something that, we as just regular folks watching TV don't really kind of get and understand. You as a professional footballer, you can see it differently to us. So it was a great question and it was a great response. So one thing I wanted to ask you about was Manchester United now have, from 2019 to now, we've clawed back 35 points from losing positions. That's like 15 points more than our nearest rivals. That team down the road, Liverpool. So is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it, you know what I mean? Because people can ask the question, well, why do we have to go a goal down before we actually really start playing? And there's some truth in that sometimes. But is it the fact that we just go a goal down, that happens, and to get 35 points back from losing positions is actually the sign of a very good team that just, Fergie's teams never gave up. You know that. You played for them. You were in those sides. They never gave up. Are we starting to see a bit of this now as well?
Yeah, because I think 35 points from losing positions is absolutely incredible. It really, really is. To claw back that many points, it's unbelievable, really, when you actually sit and think about how many games that actually is to be losing in. But at the same time, you don't want to do it. You can't do that forever. There's got to be a point where the maturity of the team develops to a point where they're 2-0 up half-time. I remember going to watch when I was even younger, before I started getting involved with United, and you'd be going to Old Trafford, and it was who's going to score, how many is it going to be, 3 or 4, picking goal scorers, and the game was done for half-time most of the time. And if it wasn't half-time, the last 20 minutes, the onslaught was just, it's you don't want to be chasing the game every week, but it does feel like, and listen, when you, as a player now, currently, no matter what level, when you do go a goal down, sometimes it does give you, come on, like, roll your sleeves up. We're 1-0 down here. We've really got to push more, be more aggressive, press higher, play more positively. And I think that's when, that's Man United at the best, playing forward quickly, pace on the wide, in the wide areas, putting crosses into the box, really piling on pressure. That's how Man United do play. So maybe whether they start the game a little bit cautiously sometimes, and that can sort of catch them a little bit. I don't know, but like I say, I don't think you want to keep that going, because especially against the top teams, you can't. If United go 1 down to Chelsea, I can't see them scoring 2 goals. City, Liverpool, these games, they'll have to look at that 100%. But 35 points from losing positions is absolutely incredible.
And as Wayne says, what a game of redemption for Lingard, De Gea, and also for Ronaldo and Ollie. He said exactly what you just said. This club, with those storylines, it does, it really does. All the way through our history, Manchester United have been, and even especially during the whole Fergie era, that never give up, last minute goal, 98, 99. That season was just the most bizarre for last minute goals. So I want to finish off by I know we spoke about David De Gea last year, the last show. He obviously took a lot of criticism for last season, and especially in the Europa final. You and I talked about him and Dean Henderson. Jason Prime says David De Gea has been in great form this season. Fair play to him for bouncing back from the criticism of the Europa League final. 100% agree with that, because a goalkeeper is a very lonely job. It really is. It's probably the loneliest job in football. Because you're either great or you're terrible. Are we still looking at David De Gea as our number 1 now, and Dean Henderson? Has De Gea taken even more steps ahead of Dean Henderson after today's performance and over the past week or 2?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said that in one of the earlier shows, didn't we? I think things just haven't gone on for Dean Henderson since he's been back. I thought he'd done pretty well last year. I think he made a couple of mistakes in a few games that, again, to be the number 1 goalkeeper for Man United is probably the most scrutinised position in world football. Like you say, it can be very lonely. One mistake, it's a goal. Everyone's hammering you left, right and centre. And I think, listen, we don't know how pre-season really went, but Dean Henderson had COVID. No, he got injured, didn't he? I think in the latter stages of the season. David De Gea made it easy for Ollie, really. He didn't really have a decision to make. And then I think every single game, I think De Gea's been superb. And little things like that there today, it just, like you say, it just pushes him further away from Dean Henderson, because you can't imagine Ollie can ever drop him anywhere in the near future now after something like that today in the last minute, saving a penalty to win the team 2 points. You can't be dropped after things like that. So yeah, I completely agree. I think he just nudged himself a little bit further into the number 1 spot, which for me he already had anyway. Yeah, I think he's been great this year, and he deserves a lot of credit, like you say, for the bouncing back from the criticism he faced, not just from the Europa League final, but for the last 2 or 3 seasons, really.
Yeah.
Listen, he was unbelievable for 4 or 5 years. He constantly swooped up all the awards and Player of the Season. But I'm sure he would say himself, he had a huge dip. He made mistakes in big games, and he didn't look the keeper he was. But again, he's only human. Players have these dips in forms, like Jesse, like loads of other players, and he's bouncing back, and he's showing signs of the David De Gea for that 4 or 5 year period of being arguably the best goalkeeper in the world.
Up next for Manchester United in the league, Aston Villa at home. A very, very good side, well organised. I know they lost Jack Grealish, but sometimes when you lose your star player, it can actually solidify the team even more and make them more of one, because they don't want to be known as just a one-player team. Real quick, how do you see next week's game going? It's at Old Trafford. For me, it's great. It's 4:30 a.m. kickoff. I love those early morning kickoffs. Tough game next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge admirer of Aston Villa. I think they're a very good, huge club. I think they've got a really good side there now. I think they've recruited really well in the summer with Leon Bailey, Buendia, who was at Norwich. I think they're two terrific players. And yeah, it'll be a real tough game. Danny Ings also as well. His goal scoring record speaks for itself in recent years. But listen, you've got to fancy United. If United are serious about challenging for the title, Aston Villa at home, you have to fancy them. Hopefully, it'll be interesting to see what he does with Pogba and where he plays. If he plays on the left again, if he drops him back, would it be in a home game that you'd expect United to have more of the ball of? Does he bring Sancho back in on the left hand side and leave out possibly Fred and put Pogba back to where Fred was playing? So it'll be interesting to see, what happens there. But yeah, I think you've got to fancy United at home to Villa. Albeit it'll be a tough game, but fingers crossed. The momentum they'll get from today as well can give them a confidence booster.
Who's up next for Morecambe? Who have we got next weekend?
We've got Crewe Alexandra on Tuesday night. We were supposed to play them a couple of weeks ago for the international break, but we had 3 internationals, so that game was rearranged. So it'll be it's a local game, tough game. Crewe always play nice football. One that we're looking forward to. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question now. One last one. Goal target for this season? How many?
For Morecambe? For me?
For you?
Oh, I think I'd like to get. It'd be lovely to get 5. I don't think I've ever got more than 2. I don't think in a season. So
okay.
I actually had a volley on Saturday. Actually, that went about 400 yards over the bar. Now I think it's important to defend your chip in with goals. I've always chipped in with the odd goal a season, but it'd be great if I could chip in with 4 or 5 goals. Would be superb. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna keep a count on that, and I'm sure we can. If we get 5 goals, I'm sure we can. We can arrange something as a congratulations. I don't know. Maybe I'll get Wayne to bake a cake and deliver it. I'm not sure. Scott, as always, it's a pleasure having you on. Your insight is always fantastic. It's always better. As an atmosphere, it's better when we win, But Manchester United, as we said, they write storylines. We've been down this road so many times before. Football is the greatest sport on the planet. It gives you the amazing highs and the earth-shattering lows, but we still come back the next week for it, don't we? We hate it for a couple of days and then we're back at it. But when you win, it's always great. And, there's nothing like being a Red. So, Scott, again, I appreciate it. Best of luck on Tuesday. I expect to see you start chipping in with that, to chip away at that 5-goal tally. Thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Dave. Thanks very much, mate.